Howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast 320. How you folks doing? It was minus 13 this morning when I took Miss Maggie out. Winter is here, and Thanksgiving is around the corner. Lots to be thankful for again this year. Part of it is you guys and your support. So thanks so much for being out there in this day of declining podcast listening. I am grateful for you folks to continually listen in. The numbers, they creep up slowly, and that's all that matters. They go up. I keep hearing from you folks. I appreciate all your kind words. I love seeing and meeting you when I'm out there shooting. So thank you so much for supporting the Moose Podcast. Also need to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. They're there to support us. Lots to be thankful for when it comes to them. The low prices, their great inventory, their expertise behind the counter, and of course, that Moose discount. That's right, when you check out, use that MOOSE secret handshake. Get an extra 5%. The folks are great. So thank Bedfords for supporting the Moose Podcast and photographers across the country. Thank you, Bedfords. Well, as I mentioned, it was a little chilly when I took out Maggie. Not getting really warm. It was pretty darn cool in old Yellowstone this last week. The winter storms had come through. There was, 10 to 12 inches of snow perhaps on the ground. But with that wind chill, it got nippy. And I says to myself, it's time for the winter prep edition of the Moose Podcast. So that's what we're going to do. I mean, I'm about to post the dates for next year's Yellowstone Wolves trip. I know many people are out there right now trying to function in the cold temps. Seemed like a great time to do my first, hopefully not last, winter prepped edition of the podcast. Now, there's two basic functions we need to deal with when it comes to working in the cold. That's ourselves and that's our camera gear. If you're driving yourself, there's a whole nother segment there dealing with your, your vehicle. But I'm just going to deal with ourselves and our camera gear. So I have been updating, I guess you could say, my cold weather gear for the year. And I want to share what I've learned, what I've got. The links will be on the website. I'm going to start off at the bottom, work my way to the top. Now, typically, I have a set of Merrell shoes. They're icebreaker shoes that either are zip up or I lace up, depending if I am going to be riding most of the time or walking. And those Merrells are just a marvelous shoe with this funky, grippy thing that when it gets cold, the parts, and I don't know the official terms, they turn dark blue and they kind of turn into metal uh, grabbers. They work really good on snow and ice. They are a marvelous boot compared to what I used to wear, which were the old Snow Kings, which were big and bulky. These are just regular shoes. So I start with those, but then what do you put in it? You can wear your traditional cotton wool double sock, uh, but I wanted to see if we could do a little better this year, go a little more high tech. So this is kind of a high tech, somewhat, some not kind of combo. Um, no matter what I'm going to wear, I wear what's called hot sockies. What are hot sockies? Well, um, they are a very small bright red neoprene kind of slip on, well, I'm going to call it a quarter sock. They go over your toes, they go over the ball of your feet, and they extend just about to your arch. And these little pieces of neoprene really make a huge difference in keeping your toes warm. Um, Going down to 0 degrees, these things they rock. And they're simple. They're inexpensive. They're comfortable. Simple way of keeping your toes warm. Now, what I've tried this year is the Field Shear Premium 2.0 electric shock socks. Socks. I know it's kind of shocking. The guy who never gets cold wearing electric socks. Well, Costco had them on sale, $20, $22 less than what you would find, like, on Amazon. And, hey, there they were. As soon as I showed my Costco card and walked in, they were boom. I'm like, "Interesting." And, well, they have Bluetooth, and like Sheldon says, anything with Bluetooth's gotta be good, right? Us guys like Bluetooth. Well, I picked up a pair, and I have done, my field tests, and they work really well. They have 4 levels of heat, and I tried it on the highest level, and they last about 3.5, 4 hours. On the low level, they last over 10 hours. Now, as I mentioned, they're Bluetooth, so you have, a battery, and they're calf-high socks. You can't even really feel the battery or any of the wires. They're very comfortable socks just as a sock element, themselves, but you have an app on your phone, and you can see the battery shape, and you can see change the heat rating, and they work really darn well. I picked up 2 pairs for a couple reasons. One, I can, on a 5-day trip, I can swap out pairs every other day. And then you have a second set of batteries just in case you get really cold. You can, crank up those puppies to the highest, and you have about 6 to 7 hours of incredibly warm, really toasty little toes. Those are the FieldShare Premium 2.0 socks. Really, I really can, and I am all behind them. Now, some people like long underwear, some people don't. I'm not a big fan of long underwear. I do have a couple of fancy pairs, but eons ago, I went with a flannel line set of pants, regular just Carhartt's flannel lined, and they were okay, but I always had to wear those long underwear. And long underwear does have the one benefit that if you have socks that slip down, they hold them up for you. Well, my beautiful bride got me a pair of Carhartt fleece lined pants a long time ago. And boy, I fleece line blows away that flannel lined pants by far. I absolutely love the fleece line. Now, Carhartt makes a couple of different fleece line. There is one that is like bulletproof. It's like a sleeping bag wrapped around your legs. I mean, your thighs will never talk to themselves again. It's just great warmth. Way too much warmth for me. They also have a waterproof version of it, which a lot of people kind of like as they go through snow. Personally, I use the fire hose canvas ones myself. I just think those are just absolutely just a rock. So those are the pants I love to wear and highly recommend in this cold weather. Wind just doesn't penetrate those legs. Now you got to remember that about 70% of our heat goes out of our head, and then the rest of it goes out of our trunk. So to keep that core temperature up, we kind of have to keep our trunk the warmest. You can do the old fashioned t-shirt and layer with a wool sweater kind of approach. Yeah, I having all those clothes to me has never been comfortable. So I went looking for a new jacket. Now, a couple years ago, I got another um, piece of layered clothing that I really liked. That was a pullover, but I wanted a jacket, and my jackets have to have a number of very specific elements to them. First, of course, it has to be keep you warm. Two, it has to pack kind of easy. Big jackets get bulky, and you put them in luggage and you fly. All of a sudden, you need a second piece of luggage, and I like to travel just one piece. So it had to be able to do those two things, and then it has to be able to hold camera gear. I mean, really big pockets. And for decades, I used a jacket from Nomar out of Homer, Alaska, which I really love, really love. But then lately, been some changes, and I needed to get another jacket. So I went looking, and yeah, I went back to my favorite Carhartts. They got a new series of jackets, about a year old, and I went out and got the Montana Loose Fit insulated jacket for extreme warmth. Um, It's, and they come in regular sizes and come in tall, and tall, not only for longer trunks, but also for longer sleeves. And I gotta tell you, this jacket absolutely bloody rocks. I've tested the bejiggers out of it. It is so warm and comfy. It doesn't feel bulky, and it's got all the things I'm looking for. The first is it's kind of got a new pocket technology in that. Well, two things. One, you zip up the front of the jacket to the top of the pocket. It traps your core body heat into the actual pockets. When you put your hand in there, it just warm. Just feels so good. Warmth that's coming from your own body, and that wind does not penetrate. It's just the pockets for hand warmth are spectacular. The next thing is these pockets are massive. You can, for example, put a Z 70 to 200 2.8 with the shade extended, not reversed, but extended. It slips in the pocket and you can't see the lens. They're that big. You can put a Z9 with a 14 to 24 in this pocket. They're that big. And these are the two external pockets. Because of this technology, your gear will stay warm in there. If that's an issue, your hands will stay warm. It also has a really large interior pocket, mesh pocket on the left side where you can put gloves to get them super warm if you want. It's got a permanently attached hood on it. What I love about this hood is that it keeps its shape. It doesn't like cave in around your face. It's just this jacket, and here's the thing: it's $149. Yeah, this jacket, which I would not hesitate taking down to -20, -30 with complete assurance I'd stay warm, and all I'm wearing is a t-shirt underneath it. Yeah, that's it. You don't have all those layers. Uh, so this one jacket, t-shirt, and you're good. -20, 30, 40, no problem. It is basically waterproof. It's not water repellent, which is kind of your first start. It's not 100% waterproof. It's in between. But I've been out in the snow. Your heat's all insulated in, so it's not snow isn't melting on you. It's this jacket. I cannot rave about this jacket enough and recommend it to you. It is absolutely amazing. That's the Montana Loose Fit Insulated Jacket for Extreme Warmth from Carhartt. Great stuff. All right, so socks, pants, jacket. What's next in this? Well, you've got to have gloves. Now, I always do my annual glove review on the website, and I'll do it again this year. And I'll always include my beaver mittens. Beaver mittens, I love beaver mittens. When it comes to keeping my digits warm while I'm shooting, they just simply rock. Now, besides that, I have other gloves that my good friends named had different levels. I tried electronic gloves. They don't work to me as well as the like the electric socks by any stretch of imagination. To me, they're a little bit hard to work the camera gear. And keep in mind that all this is so we can work with our camera gear. So I have the your basic, the Manzella lightweight Infinium glove. A new glove from Manzella. I really like them. They kind of replace my Windjammer gloves that I've had for decades. They're often just the liner I use in my mittens. So these are kind of like my first gloves. These are gloves I set up camera gear and tripods, and sometimes I drive in. They're very thin. They're you can feel it, and they got the little the thing on the pad so you can run your iPhone smart devices. Then I have my Swix cross country ski gloves, which um, I guess in flux. I don't know. Maybe it's a supply chain problem, but I love the Swix gloves. That's probably my primary glove for shooting. Then when it gets cold, and typically when there's any wind, that's when the digits start getting really cold. I turn to my Black Diamond, and the Recon gloves look absolutely phenomenal. Easy to operate your camera gear, keep you nice and warm. So those are the basics and gloves. Now, I can't recommend enough for you and it will look funny. I don't care. Take a camera, put it on a strap, walk into like an REI store and try on the gloves that operate your camera. All our hands are different, and it's important that the glove does one thing, and that's insulate your hand, keeps it warm, but two, it doesn't get in the way of you operating. And with so many buttons and dials that we have to manipulate as we take photographs, that's really important. You have the right glove for those moments. So take that, check that out. Now, the one thing that I highly recommend is that you get a buff. A buff is that's a simple piece of cloth. It's a tube you pull over your head and it goes around your neck. It can make a big difference keeping the wind going down your t-shirt or your shirt. Now, in testing the new the Carhartt Montana Loose Fit jacket, I tried it with and without a buff, and with its improved hood that's permanently attached, and it's got this warm fleece. The buff really didn't make that big a difference for me in that case. But then again, I am very weird and I don't get cold. So, buffs come in many different shapes and flavors. So you check that out because then it comes up to your head and your ears. Like I mentioned, about 70% of your body temperature goes out of your head. So it's important to keep it, snug and warm. So when I do need to do that, I have found, a couple years ago, the Sealskins cold weather, waterproof cold weather roll cuff beanie. And now this particular beanie, it looks like your basic kind of wool cap, but it's not. I mean, first of all, it is waterproof. It's insulated in this with this really cool kind of comfy stuff. I mean, it's easy to fall asleep on this because it's so comfy. It's not like massively pad or anything like that. It's hard to describe, but it's just an amazing hat that it will keep you so incredibly warm. That's the Sealskins waterproof cold weather roll cuff beanie. Uh, hey, and then one little small detail: keeping yourself warm. It also starts internally. Having calories, both soft and hard calories, ones that burn quickly and ones that burn slowly. When you step out the door, having those in you is important, and then replenishing those during the day can make a difference too. Those burning of calories is how you keep yourself warm internally. Another way is liquids. A number of years ago, because I have a friend, Auntie, who is just a coffee fiend like myself, she started bringing coffee cups to when we go out shooting, and I'm like, that's interesting. And well, she went out and got the Yeti 18-ounce hot shot cap coffee um, mug, thermos, whatever you want to call it. And that thing rocks. It is, I can't live without it. I use it all year long, but in the wintertime, it could be zero, it could be minus degrees, and you put hot chocolate or hot coffee in it. 6 hours later, it's just as hot. It's just a marvelous thing to just instantly warm up your core. And you got to realize as soon as your body starts to shiver, it's trying to burn calories, and create activity in your body to warm up. A couple shots of hot chocolate or hot coffee instantly can remedy that. So there's your kind of basics for your body. And let's talk about camera gear. Camera gear, as soon as condensation forms, you can get into a real nasty spiral. And that spiral is going to cause the condensation to continue to reform. So the whole thing is not to have condensation start in the first place. Can be as simple as just you got to train yourself not to breathe on the eyepiece of your camera because once it fogs up, you could be toast. If you have a Nikon DSLR, they do have the DK17 anti-fog eyepiece, which works really well. They don't have such a thing yet for the Z's, which I hope they do. They come out relatively quickly with that. But if you just don't breathe on them, that's one way of keeping them from fogging up. Now, camera gear is basically all metal. And when it gets cold, it retains that that cold temperature. And so when it hits something warm and or warm and moist, that's when the condensation cycle begins. So when you're out shooting, as much as possible, keep your camera gear either in A, the camera bag, or B, under a white towel. So any condensation that forms on those surfaces and not the camera itself. Next, when you go back to your room, and it's one of those, I guess you can say, rituals I have. Before I get back to that room, and that room is going to be warm and steamy, no matter how you deal with it. Just your body emanates some moisture that goes in the air. I keep the camera bag and the camera gear as far from the heater in the room as possible, so it gets no direct heat. Before I get to the actual room, I will remove the battery and the cards from the camera. So then when I get into the room, what I instantly do is I will take the gear that I need to clean, deal with, and only that. If it's not been used that day, it stays in the camera bag. I will take that gear out. I stick it on the bed instantly, and I put a big white towel from the bathroom over the gear. Then I put the camera bag. Usually it's right by the door to the room, the furthest from the heater, and I keep it zipped up. Then I let the gear come to room temperature under that white towel. So any moisture, condensation is sucked up and wicked up by the towel, not by the camera gear. Clean that camera gear, then I put it right back in the camera bag and leave it by the door. Now, knock on wood, I've not had condensation problems for eons. Eons and eons. And when I did was up in Alaska with a friend of mine photographing muskox. And that's when I learned that once you start and you have condensation, breaking the cycle with camera gear is near impossible. So the trick is never let it start. So that towel is this great barrier between your gear and the elements that can start and create and continue condensation. And then when you go out shooting, whatever you do, don't use your breath to blow off something from the front element or the back element. Now, even if you see something there, depth of focus it isn't going to be in the photograph. So you just be very careful. Don't breathe on those glass elements, and you can shoot all day long without any incidents. Now, I have been given the simple advice forever to shooters I take out in the cold. It works, and you can repeat it because it is simple. Well, let's see here. Socks, pants, jackets, glove, hat, camera gear. Oh, yeah. One last thing. Your lips. Don't forget to keep those lips, coated with something so they stay dry. And then when you're out breathing in that cold air, remember, cold air is typically incredibly dry, no humidity. Goes to your lungs. So hydration. Last thing I'm going to talk about. Hydration. Pilots, will say that if you're not taking a whiz every 2 hours, you're not drinking enough. And that's really true when you're in the cold environment. Whether it's a hot or cold fluid, you need to have at least 8 ounces every hour to stay hydrated. And that will make a big difference in your enjoying the great outdoors when you're out shooting with that gear. Well, I hope this trivia helps you. Remember, the links will be on the website. You guys have an incredibly great Thanksgiving. So much to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you taking time to listen, to share your photographs, and be part of this great community. Remember, when you go out, to make every click your story.